The topic is the distribution of our business of Anji Logistics in the overseas. I think it is still too early for us to talk about that topic, because for China's logistics company, our overseas strategy has just started. So I am more than willing to tell you a little bit about our current business. This is the Anji Logistics business. I'm sure you are all familiar with our business. So before we talk about our overseas business department, we can take a look at the overall business. So we have 5 groups. Finished vehicles logistics every year. In China, we carry about 6 to 7 million cars, and we have around 2,800 trucks. The transportation capacity is about 9,000 cars. This is really a big number in China. In China, we have 22 piling stocks and ports. So we are really the best of its kind in China. For spare parts logistics, we have around 670 trucks. We have 12 LOC and RBC spare parts distribution center and 13 nationwide after-sale spare part center. So altogether, it covers an area of about 1.12 warehousing storage. For port logistics, we have developed our own terminals. These 8 terminals are in Beijing, Taicang, Shanghai, Beijing, Chongqing, Dalian, and Guangzhou. Almost you can find our presence in all major terminals along the coast. Then for seagoing logistics or shipping logistics, those who know me very well all understand that I worked in this sector for about 10 years. And it is not until recently that I was shifted to this new department. 10 years ago, the annual capacity is only about 60,000, but now it's up to about 1 million. So within 10 years, the transportation capacity increased by almost 20 times. We have the largest, best, and newest fleet, and we can provide the most dense flight arrangements, and our market share is about 40%. So this is our business layout, and in 2012 we added information technology. Currently we have 2 subsidiary companies and over 100 engineers working for information technology business. They are still making their efforts to develop their business in this regard. And in December 2015, we set up the Overseas Business Department. This is different from other business groups. It's not named after the nature of the business, but it's named after a certain region. So this is an entirely different business unit. Why we want to set up this unit? So we want to be a comprehensive supply chain service provider with a global brand influence and a servicing capability. So what we really need is to go international as quickly as possible. And we set up this overseas department. Although it's not a business subject matter, but the purpose is quite clear. Is to ensure we have international implementation of the projects. These are all the organizations having connections with this business unit. We have Anji Siva. They have the finished vehicle import business unit. The sales volume is about 900 million RMB yuan. For Haitong Logistics, also quite experienced importer. Ansheng Auto Shipping Company Limited is an active player in the cargo freight forwarding and the transportation of finished vehicles. So if the environment allows, very soon we will have our own lines and routes for transportations. We are also accumulating our experiences by working with a lot of players, both from China but also from international. We hope that in shipping sector, we can find our own position. Last but not least, Anji Logistics Thailand project. We started this project since 2014 because we set up our first OEM plant in Shanghai Automotive Industry Group have set up their first plant in Thailand. So in order to serve SAIC, we set up our NYK project platform JV in Thailand. So this project is responsible for KP import and export and domestic logistics. Every year, we hope to carry about 80,000 containers, and also we have around 30,000 cargo forward freighters. With so many organizations involved, for import and export, why we need to set up this overseas business unit? Let's take a look at our own task. Our business unit has to be different from the original scope of business that covers only the Chinese territory. They are called domestic logistics only. In the whole process of internationalization of logistics, the original BUs will continue to be their businesses serving the domestic players, but in addition to that, we need to put all the resources together to serve our overseas units. And also we need to have our own warehouse, our different type of supporting auxiliary facilities, because if you depend purely on network, it is difficult for you to be the strongest one, because it's virtually impossible for you to improve your quality of your service. For Anji Logistics, overseas business unit is key. It's also another key task for us. We use this manner to support our domestic players. Another key task is to put forward and to promote our international collaboration. We have a lot of foreign friends here, so our international collaboration is also quite critical for our future development. I hope that our more Chinese friends and our international friends will talk to each other more. Also, we want to build a strong brand in the world to develop together with our overseas customers. It will not only be confined within the Chinese companies, but rather we want to know more about the entire world. It is only based upon that platform can we have a simpler, cost-saving, and efficient practice. So these are some of the points, like in Thailand, in Indonesia. And the Indian company will also come out in about 2 years. The North American company is also quite around the corner, and it will be set up by the latter half of this year. European company also coming quite soon. So very soon, these companies and these outlets will be established within 1 or at most 2 years after our business unit was set up. So this is a typical case. Anji Logistics set up the first JV company in the overseas market. It's called Anji NYK Logistics Thailand Company Limited, covering almost all the logistics services of the entire supply chain of this automotive sector. So you can see it covers both the regional KD, CKD, and from milk run, from the spare parts and the component manufacturers, up until the transportation of other businesses, and also including packaging and repackaging before it comes to the ports of China, of Shanghai, and before they are transported further to other cities. In Thailand, through Anji NYK operation, we can provide KD packaging and unpackaging, MJVs, after-sales operations, and the transportation of the finished vehicles. So this is a very typical example. The sales revenue coming from this sector is not that huge, but does not prevent us from applying the whole system of operations on all the links. And also I have mentioned that the overseas entities are important to us. The more we study the market, the more pressing needs we feel about how important it is to depend on our overseas facilities to support our future development. So under this leadership, we can see this is the geographical layout of our overseas facilities. This is far from complete, but it gives you a snapshot of our current business status quo. For example, in Hamburg of Germany, we have the CC-SIVA Container Transshipment Center. This is the relationship between us and SIVA. SIVA helps to manage the business with us. And in Seoul, In Incheon of South Korea, we also have a CC center. In Thailand, we have put into place an after-sales warehouse and finished vehicle warehouse together with an LOC. So all these 3 points colored blue are the already operational points. In Indonesia, in 2016, there will be a new company set up there for the after-sales services and also the finished vehicles. Also a model that will pattern after the Thailand model. And also we have a plan to set up our subsidiary company in the States. We are looking forward to working with a local partner, and this project is nearly finished. And in America, we hope to use this overseas facility to provide VMI services for our domestic players in America. Actually, we have already been discussing with the key accounts so that they can entrust their VMI businesses for us. This is probably something you are interested in. I put a few circles on the slide. So what will be the future outlook of our geographical distribution of our overseas business units? This red circle is the A-type circle, covering the Southeastern Asia and Britain. So for these businesses, we will follow the OEMs and also provide holistic solutions covering production logistics, sales logistics, and service logistics. And for those blue circles, they are
I don't think in a couple of years the Chinese OEM will establish their business presence in these areas. So we mainly do the spare parts logistics in the areas encircled by these blue circles. We provide import and export logistics, especially the spare parts logistics. For the green circle, we provide service for logistics service for the whole vehicle export and spare parts export from China. Well, the export volumes vary from one OEM to another. But most of the OEMs face some challenges in spare parts logistics. Because cars are mobile, so it is very difficult to find the right spot for the establishment of the spare parts warehouse or distribution center. So I think it's advisable for OEMs to collaborate with each other to establish a joint distribution center. The logistic companies have a professional know-how and knowledge about the local market. We can be a great plus to your after-sales service. We can enable the OEM or the forest dealers to provide in-time services to our end customers. Well, that concludes my presentation. I hope you can approach us, and I hope that we'll have greater communications to come up with great ideas. Thank you very much. So to keep your presentation, Mr. Gu, Mr. Gu is a very good timekeeper. When we heard the applause, my timekeeper simply showed thumbs up. So Anji Automotive Logistics has become the largest automobile logistics company in the world. Just last week, we participated into the conference organized by Anji Automobile Logistics in Shanghai. During the conference, it is said that they're going to set up a business presence in North America. And they are encroaching upon the international market as a result of the export endeavor by the Chinese OEM. Our next speaker is the representative of one of the global partners to this conference, Mr. Liu Dawei, the Marketing and International Department Director for Beijing Chengdu Logistics Corporation Limited, to share with us the story of Chengdu. Thank you, Secretary General. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Liu Dawei. Currently, I'm responsible for the Marketing and International Department for Beijing Chengdu Logistics. I'm standing at this podium in two capacities. First of all, I'm the representative of the gold sponsor of this conference, and secondly, of course, I am a representative of the Chengdu Logistics, which is a logistic company covering the automobile logistics and other parts of logistic business side. I'm going to talk a little bit about the import and the whole vehicle or whole car logistics in the new situation. So what do I mean by new situation or new context? During the morning session, Mr. Wu said that there's a downward pressure or downward pressures on the export volume of vehicles from China. So from a cost point of view, from a transportation volume point of view, we're facing a lot of pressure. But amidst challenges, we do identify some opportunities. More and more international companies and international brands, they set up their manufacturing facilities or joint ventures in China. They're introducing more models into the Chinese market. Well, last year, the sales volume of some international brands in China dropped by a very large margin. So in order to compete for a greater market share, many international automobile brands, take Mercedes-Benz, Audi, or BMW, for example, they started to manufacture their new models in China. This is what we call the strategy of localization. Some Chinese brands, in an effort to expand the survival, they are looking outward into the international market. For example, Geely or Guanghui Auto, they're expanding their international network, and they're competing internationally. So this is a plus to our whole vehicle logistic companies. Well, thirdly, the Chinese government is very supportive of the One Belt One Belt strategy. But thanks to that strategy, it is possible to come up with some new strategies and new business model. For example, the railway transportation is a feasible way of transportation under the strategy of One Belt One Belt, and the Chengdu Logistics will definitely take part into this railway transportation. In Chengdu, we got Chengdu Europe railway, and in Chongqing, there's also a rail network connecting Chongqing with Europe. So clearly in China, we can see the emergence of many international railroads. The sea transportation is also on the recovery, including the sea transportation, cargo volume, and freight. Meaning we can rely on new transportational models to provide whole vehicle logistics services to our customers. Something about the parallel import. Parallel import just takes place in the right time, thanks to the changes in the government and national policy. Well, parallel import becomes a new distribution channel and is growing rapidly. As far as our customers are concerned, the majority of our customers are engaged in the parallel import. So, talking about the logistics services, we have different business models different solutions to provide to our customers. We can combine the sea transportation with land transportation and air transportation. The traditional business model is still going on and still growing, while the new business model is on the emergence. Right now, the logistic company is expected to provide the holistic solutions covering custom clearance, transportation, distribution. All in all, the logistic companies is not expected to provide one-stop service to customers. The OEMs, they have their own transportation systems, but for the parallel importers, they don't have their own supply chain or logistic chain to help them to cover the entire process of the parallel import. So I think this is very good opportunities for a logistic company like Chengdu, and definitely this is a new growth point for the company's business. Professor Zhang, during yesterday's presentation, said that Chengdu didn't say too much about the multimodal transportation, but indeed, we've been doing this for a very, very long time. In June this year, we're going to send a cargo plane from China to Germany. Indeed, we are pressing ahead at all fronts. This is a one-stop service. We can pick up the vehicles from the OEMs to the port to declare to the customers and transport, clear the custom house, redistribution, financial service, and all these sectors needs to be covered by a modern logistic company. Right now, the parallel importers don't have that capacity to cover the entire process. I think in the future, a logistic company needs to provide the service to covering all these links in this process. So in this new context, what Chengdu can do to capture the possible opportunities. 4 years ago, we started to make international presence. Right now in Germany, we have an independent company. Well, after Mr. Ku's presentation, I understand ING is going faster in its international strategy. In Germany, we have our wholly owned subsidiaries, and after 3 to 4 years of operation, we now have a pretty stable service networks in Europe. Apart from our subsidiaries in Germany, in June 2015, together with Harbin Railway Bureau and Dalian Port authorities, we set up a joint venture. This company is responsible for the operation of the rail transportation from Harbin to Hamburg in Germany. And we also give a very beautiful name to this railway transportation route, and this name is recognized by the government authorities. On this railroad, we have a line connecting China and Germany and another line connecting China and Russia. We have 2 trains a week. It takes 16 days to travel from one station, starting station to the terminal station. I think we can even provide services for the whole vehicle, and the OEMs in Northeast China, Southeast China, and we can even provide service to our OEMs in South Korea and Japan. We started to have access to Europe through Poland, and we cover the entirety of Europe, not only Germany but also other countries in Europe. We can also collect the cargoes from Europe and transport these European cargoes back to China. Well, this is the train connecting China and Russia. We start the first operation in March. It starts from Harbin to Manchuria, and eventually it will stop at Moscow. And it takes 6 to 8 days to cover the entire route. Well, this railway transportation can cover Northeast China, Southeast China, as well as South Korea and Japan. So we're engaged in the multimodal transportation covering road transportation, water transportation, and road transportation. Well, let's say through sea transportation, we can bring the vehicles in South Korea to Dalian, and we unload the vehicles to the Dalian port and then upload it to the railroad, and then we use road transportation to bring the cars into Russia or into Europe. And all the links are controlled by Chengdu Logistics Company. We have total solutions covering Germany, Russia, China, South Korea, and Japan. Let's take a look at some statistics. From Harbin to Hamburg, we sent 29 trains. From Hamburg to Harbin, there were a total of 25 trains. So the value of the cargo so transported totaled $100 million. Well, this time charter provides a very stable on-road time. One of our biggest clients is Audi. Their KD spare parts are transported from Germany to Harbin through rail transportation. The door-to-door, it will take 20 days to cover the door-to-door transportation, and rail transportation is very, very safe. So far, the damage rate is 0, including the whole vehicle and the spare parts. The cost is another advantage. Compared with the railroad transportation cost is not comparable to sea transportation. For Maersk, they provide an ultra low freight, which is about $75 per one container. But compared with the air transportation, the rail transportation still enjoy certain cost advantages and is faster than sea transportation. So rail transportation is a very good supplement to air transportation. We can save up to 40% of the times compared with the sea transportation. These are some of our clients: Audi, Foxconn, and Harbin Electric. And more and more companies are using the rail transportation for the moving of their cargo.
Last, I want to say a few words about internationalization. It is not a drastic move for Chengdu to embrace internationalization. Indeed, we have some subsidiary companies, and now we have some blockchain businesses in different parts of the world. And also, hopefully in the future, we are going to have more businesses for roller ships. We have never stopped our journey ever since. This chart, actually, I have shown to many customers and audiences. For Chengdu Logistics, we are no longer a pure carrier, but also a solution provider. Hopefully we can cover all the service scope. And that diagram is actually relevant over years ago, but now I have to put a few more circles on that so that we can put it on an international world. Over the ports, over the terminals, Zhongshi International is already having its dialogue with our European partners. Hopefully in the future, there could be more collaborations over that particular area. Over shipping businesses, we have a plan to manufacture around 14 ships that can be ocean-going in the future. And from Chengdu to Hamburg of Germany, the first flight will take off in Chengdu this June to cover more services of distribution and delivery. So for Chengdu, we have achieved a lot, but still we need to do more. We have to be more embracive of new technologies, and also we have to quicken our steps to contribute more to the business of our future in general. Thank you. That concludes my presentation. Thank you very much. I think that for Anji and for Changjiu, they have already been well developed and quite matured. Indeed, it's a small step out of our business, but for the whole business in China, it's a big step because it represents our journey into the international world, and we have the strong capacity of serving the whole world. Next, I want to invite the next speaker, Mr. Yang Ming from Chang'an Mingsheng APLL Logistics Company Limited, to give us a brief recap of their outlook. Dear guests, actually it's noon already, so I have to say good afternoon. I think it's almost lunchtime, so I will be quite quick and short. I come from Chang'an Mingsheng APLL Logistics Company Limited. It is our great pleasure to be here to share with you about my expertise and my understandings of our business. So I'm here to tell you a little bit about our own company and how we look at the internationalization. First of all, let's take a look at our company. Our company was founded in August 2001. Our registered capital of about 162 million RMB yuan. Our biggest shareholder is China Chang'an, or CCAG. Sorry for the technical problem. Well, our company also includes Mingsheng Industrial Group Company Limited and APL Logistics. And our company was was going public in Hong Kong Stock Exchange in 2006, and in year 2013 we shifted to the main board for the transaction. So this is a brief introduction of our Chang'an Mingsheng Logistics. Our sales revenue is about 6.05 billion RMB yuan. But in Chongqing, it's already a quite big scale. Chang'an Mingsheng Logistics is already number 26 out of the top 50 strongest logistic suppliers in China. And by 2020, our planned sales revenue is up to 20 billion RMB yuan. And we provide holistic services to all our customers, including the finished vehicle logistics, the spare parts warehousings, multi-modal transportation, international freight forwarding. So for the finished car vehicles, our capacity is to cover 3 million cars per year, and for spare parts warehousing and distribution, 3.2 million sets per year. For the international business which I oversee, our international freight forwarding is up to about 80,000 TEUs per year, and for after-sales logistics, that's about 500,000 tons per year. For packaging services, it includes both the finished vehicles and also the KDG services. That's about 50,000 sets per year, including for imports and for exports. Other businesses include the tire redistribution and the manufacturing. That's about 3.1 million tires per year. And also we have some other value-added services to provide. We also provide the maintenance services and other value-added services that are all very popular and well received by the customers. These are the figures by the end of this month. This is our coverage network. The first map is the international service network. It's a fully fledged network covering both the rivers, seas, and continents. Our plan is to go, first of all, to the European world, and next, hopefully, we can make our entries into Brazil, Iran, and other countries in the world. And this is our long-term goal. But in China, we have around 14 subsidiary companies, 6 wholly owned companies, 7 JV companies, 2 office outlets, so altogether 29 sub-branches and sub-institutions of various kinds. Now let's say a few words about the strategic opportunities for auto import and export logistics. This morning, Mr. Liu has covered a lot about the policies, the regulations, the opportunities, and so on and so forth. So I want to offer my own opinions in this regard. After a high speed growth rate, I think that the entire auto logistics industry will be ushered into a new normal, where the growth speed will slow down a little bit, but the service capabilities will have to improve. Thanks to the incentive policies from the government, we are facing unprecedented opportunities. For imports, there has been some high pressure from high inventory and localization. In addition to the purchasing tax, cutting by half for the purchase of the cars under 1.6 liter. So not all the cars can enjoy this benefit. And the third factor, which will influence the future practice, is the Tianjin port explosion. These are the 3 factors for import. But for export, this is the columns showing different figures for our export volume during 2010 to 2015. And also we have to consider factors like the export country policies, the political instabilities, the tariff barriers, the RMB currency appreciation, and the rupee depreciation, not to mention the small displacement cars saturation. For import logistics, we have the strategic opportunities. First of all, for the new finished cars, import terminals or ports, they are moving towards the western and the central part of China. So that's largely because of the steady increase of the sales volume of cars in Chongqing and the Sichuan province. Secondly, the import tariff has been well lowered, so this is also quite a good incentive policy. And last year, this total imported volume through Chongqing is about 50,000 sets. Thirdly, the ever-expanding of the policies for the parallel imports will become the new growth point. For export logistics, we are facing opportunities of integration of our businesses. So these are some of the concentration areas, including Russia, Iran, Ukraine, Africa. So all these countries and regions accounting for about 84% of the total export. Secondly, for the export routes, they are mainly concentrated in Sichuan, Chongqing, eastern part of China, Anhui, and Guangdong. For KD export is the future direction because of the low tariff, because high requirement for the export capacity, and also because of its impacts, because of the ability to avoid the tariff barriers. So I think it is a ripe moment for us to get integrated with the overseas business, because our overseas logistics business still scattered in serious lack of the logistics service industry that covered the whole process. Secondly, almost all the car companies are concentrated on the overseas business with concentrated destinations. So that's possible for all the companies to group with each other to seek common benefit through overseas strategy. So many speakers before me have all mentioned this part. I think this is something really good for us. For the international logistics, demand is largely driven by the export businesses of domestic brands. But still, we seriously lack those service providers that can cover the whole process of the export logistics. And talking about the future strategic opportunities, I think we have to mention the block trains linking China and Europe. There have been more and more trains for this purpose. And for Yuxingou block train, including Rongou high speed, these two platforms become the most popular platforms for transportation and logistics in the western part of China. Currently, we are still working on the integration of the grouping and also the scheduling of different fleets and service providers. Hopefully, in the future, we can set up a so-called auto logistics distribution network by integrating with the rails and expressways. So here you can see that for Yuxingou, the frequency of trains to be sent is about 3 to 5 trains per week, and the total number is around 240 in 2015. And for Rongou Expressway, it's once a week, and the total number of deliveries is about 103 per year. For Yuxingou, actually, for the return trip, about 70% of the resources have been well utilized. Secondly, for the approvals for the setting up of FTZ, currently we have 4 in Shanghai, Tianjin, Guangzhou, and Fujian. So for the incentive policies as a result of FTZ, they are as follows. First of all, customers clearance after gate entry. Secondly, financing, renting. Thirdly, joint supervision and monitoring. Fourthly, tax collection in one stop. And in addition, other benefits including inviting the third party for the management and the introduction of the supervisory model using the guarantees and the collaterals. So that will also change fundamentally the financing models of the supply chain. We have our own supply chain companies also engaged into the businesses of related to FTZ. In Chongqing, Chengdu, they are also making applications of FTZ, and very likely they will become shortlisted. For import and export basis, as of now, altogether in China, there are around 19 finished vehicles import terminals, in which and also we have around 12 export bases for cars and spare parts. Parallel imports from the end of last year to March this year, the Ministry of Commerce, NDRC, and Ministry of Information Industry and the Ministry of Public Security have co-issued many regulations and recommendations or guidelines for the development of parallel imports. All these are really good incentives for this industry. The 3 big policies shows that the 3C certification issue is very likely to be resolved in the near future. As I said, through Yuxingou, we can talk directly to Europeans' needs. This year, hopefully, we can launch about 5,000 set times of express deliveries. For Zhongxin collaborative model, which is a joint collaboration between China and Singapore, this is very important opportunity for us. Talking about Singapore, both sides have agreed that transportation logistics is one of the 4 pillars of collaboration between the two countries, making use of different countries and resources for enjoying the benefits of tax reduction. This can also help to reduce the gap between the coastal areas and also the hinterlands. This is also a good opportunity for Chongqing. For the last part, which is about internationalization against a new backdrop of the opportunities facing our new customers, they are mainly in Iran and Russia. Also, they find their way into South Africa and South America. So we have to do better job at Russia and Iran as 2 strategic bases, and also we need to do a better job at the overseas market. For other market strategies, including passenger car as the mainstay, to be supplemented by the commercial cars and the light cars. So these will be the future directions of our OEMs and our customers. We have to do more to cope with this strategy. And also we need to reinforce our overseas brand strategy, product, technology, and system construction strategies to enhance our competitiveness. For talking about our international logistics business, it covers 3 parts. One is the spare part import. So these are all the traditional ways that we work on for the imports of spare parts. The cost is a little bit lower, but the time is quite long. So ever since 2014, we began to work and collaborate with Yuxin'ou. As I said, we have organized nearly 70% of the back trip resources for Yuxin'ou back train. And with the frequency getting much higher for Yuxin'ou block trains, in the future we hope to make a better use of the resources that tend to be neglected. For air transportation, we have the Tier 1 agent qualification with more guarantees of the terminals, so they will be mainly treated as the subsidiaries and also the emergency transportation capacities to drive forward our business to support the Yuxin'ou project.
We're talking about the export of the kitty spare parts. According to the national policies, the kitty export is encouraged over the export of whole vehicle. So probably the road transportation, especially the Yuxin'ou, will have a great role to play. We can collect the spare parts, we can do the packages, we can declare, we can make custom declarations, transportations, and custom clearance. We're talking about the whole vehicle export as a result of the sluggish economic development, performance, as well as the export barriers. In the near future, the whole vehicle export volume will decrease, but probably in the future, in the long run, there might be a substantial growth in the whole vehicle export volume. Talking about our international distribution network, we have business presence in Germany and Russia, and we also have a business presence in Iran. Simply, we're following our customers wherever they go, we go, and we're also learning from our colleagues like Anji and Chengdu. We're trying to establish a business presence in Middle East and South America. Right now, we can still only provide traditional business model or business services to our customers, but in the near term, we're going to improve our international service network. We're going to set up more representative office in more localities around the world, and we're going to carry out more collaborations with big companies. And also, it is necessary to establish information platforms to further improve the quality of service. In the long run, we're going to transfer our domestic logistics service chain to international market. Okay, that basically concludes my presentation. Thank you very much. I would like to offer my thanks to the three speakers for the wonderful presentation. Three famous Chinese logistic companies share with us their experience in expanding international market. Now it's time for question and answers. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand, and a microphone will be handed to you. Any questions from the audience? Probably you're still thinking about the questions. I'll take the lead. I have a question for General Manager Gu from Anji Logistics. Well, Anji is building up its international networks. Many OEMs are doing probably the similar business. For example, the export of spare parts. NGCBOT is doing this business, is in this business. Haitong is also in this business. Of course, these two companies are the joint ventures by different partners. So in the overseas market, are going to work with our competitors or are going to compete with our competitors? Do you think there is further rooms for consolidations and improvement? A very good question. So far, we don't have any specific plans to work with our competitors and compete with the competitors. We're still in a period of free growth. We do whatever we want. The current business system has been there for quite a number of years. We don't want to change our business systems, and our business partners don't want to see the changes or significant changes in our business systems, our business flow. We have a overseas department, and the overseas department's responsibility is to coordinate the overseas resources. During all the three presentations, one point is repeatedly raised that the strategies and business models have to change as the time change, as the whole situation change. And in going outward, probably we need to work with more partners and collaborators. Second question is for Mr. Liu from Chengdu Auto Logistics. Not only in your presentation, if my memory doesn't fail me, a lot of presenters today and yesterday talked about parallel import. Because of the favorable policies on parallel import, because of the favorable policies on free trade zones in China, well, actually the parallel import accounts for 10% of the total import of the vehicles into China. Chengdu is a pretty special group. Auto logistics is only part of its business. It's also in the dealer's business. So I just wonder if the auto logistic part is a standalone business in Chengdu, or is it affiliated with other business groups within Chengdu? Well, it's a very good question. Indeed, within Chengdu Group, there are 6 business sectors. The auto logistics is our core business. Right now, the auto dealer business is our biggest business sectors. Every year we sell more than 100,000 cars in China. Well, so far, Chengdu has not engaged in the sales of parallel import, but the Chengdu Logistics is reaching out into the parallel import. The group provides us with a lot of support and guidance in terms of providing logistics service to parallel import. I have to cover not only the physical transportation, but also the custom clearance declarations and auto financing, financial services, and all these things needs to be provided by the headquarters, by the Chengdu Group. But so far, Chengdu Group is still mainly focused on the operation of the forest dealers in China. The next question is for Mr. Yang from Zhang and Mingsheng. Well, your company is an important participant in Yuxingou, and International Logistics is responsible for the collection of the cargoes in Europe. So we dispatch 300 trains, and we only have 150 trains coming back from Europe to China. So not only to Yuxingou, but as to other railroad connecting China and Europe. Where is the future growth point, especially in return trains? What can really fill in the wagons in return trains? As you said, my company is an important stakeholder in Yuxingou, and we are expanding the business scope of Yuxingou very actively. We're working with Mingsheng Logistics to add value to the service provided by Yuxingou. My company is not a platform company for Yuxingou, but anyway, we provide a comprehensive services covering door to door. Yuxingou is a railroad. It's a platform transportation company covering the distance from Pyeongtaek to Chongqing. But we provide more than mere rail transportation. We provide custom declarations, clearance, door-to-door transportation, packaging. So a lot of value-added services to provide. Talking about the future growth point. Yuxingou has many shuttle trains. So it's possible for us to integrate the logistics services across China. We have a customer in Shenzhen. They imported cargo to Chongqing, and after custom clearance, we transport the cargo back to Shenzhen. So we can only provide services to the customers in southwest China, but also we can provide services to the customers across the entirety of China. Well, the Yuxingou Railroad is about 11 to 12,000 kilometers. It takes 11 to 12 days to cover the entire distance, so it's a lot faster than the sea transportation. And Yuxingou has a very big loading capacity, so this is its advantages over air transportation. If you're not in a hurry, I think the cargo can go through a rail transportation. Thank you very much for your answer. Just wonder if there's any answer from the audience. I still have one question for speakers. Our three speakers talked about leveraging upon their overseas capacities to facilitate the export of whole vehicles from China. When we talk about auto export, we need to cover spare parts export and KD parts export. Many OEMs choose to export KD spare parts and assemble the vehicles in overseas market. And you also talked about the collaborations between different OEMs. So can you elaborate on that point? How can the OEMs collaborate with each other on the export of spare parts or KD parts, starting from Mr. Gu? I think I've already put forward the suggestion. Well, in after-sales spare parts distributions, definitely there's room for collaboration. South America, Middle East, these are the key regions. We're looking into the possibility of setting up a regional distribution center for our customers, but we need certain quantity and volume. We're still looking at the possibility. As to the whole vehicle export, why the Chinese rural companies cannot enjoy a very healthy development simply because of the lack of the consolidation of this industry. We need to put the cargoes together. But of course, we need to, pull this cargo together. Mr. Liu, any specific ideas or thought? According to our understanding of the industry, it is feasible and doable for collaboration. The OEM in China, their overseas target are overlapping. Russia, Middle East. So when we talk about the KD parts logistics, I do hope that the Chinese OEMs can break the barriers between them, amend their internal policies, and make full use of the third-party logistics supplier to bring down the transportation and logistic cost. So that is a very strong cost advantages, and it can create a multiple win scenario for all the stakeholders. Mr. Yang, anything to share with us? Talking about collaborations between OEM, I think it not only applies to logistic companies, but it also applies to sea transportation companies. There are more and more sea transportation alliance, and also we can see the emergence of many alliances in air transportation. This kind of industrial collaboration or consolidations can help us to bring down the cost and get over the current difficulty. Every logistic companies has their own target market and has their own customers. Chengdu is in possession of the China-Europe trains and other trains, and my company has its own advantages. So different companies have different merit and features. So definitely you can supplement each other and work with each other. Our customers sometimes perform differently in different markets. So surely we can work with each other, we can supplement each other with our own merit. Thank you very much. Any questions from the audience? I raised the question because it has a lot to do with this afternoon session. Because we have extended invitations to the representatives of the domestic OEMs to join in the afternoon session. So this is just a good starting point for the afternoon discussion. If there's no further questions from the audience, we'll call it a morning. This afternoon, our OEM representative will be very happy to share with you their point of view. Well, last but not least, I would like to offer our thanks to the three panelists, and thank you very much for your participants.